Hello everybody. Curriculum for young children. Today under this topic we are going to deal with the lesson Theoretical Influence on Early Childhood Education Curriculum Development. The objective of this lesson is to understand the influence of developmental theories on early childhood education curriculum development. Curriculum, as we all have already understood that curriculum is a organized framework that delineates the content the children has to learn. The process through which the children achieve the identified curricular goals and what the teachers do to help the children achieve these goals come under curriculum. Curriculum is a context in which the teaching and learning occurs. Curriculum means a written plan that includes the goals for children's development, learning, experiences through which they will achieve these goals, and what the staff, that is the teachers and parents, do to help the children achieve these goals. The materials needed to support the implementation of the curriculum. So, curriculum should be thoughtfully planned, it should be challenging, it should be engaging. Curriculum should be developmentally appropriate. It should be culturally and linguistically responsive, comprehensive across all developmental domains. Curriculum is likely to promote a positive outcomes for all young children. Curriculum should be research based, emphasizing the teachers actively engaging the children, and it should also include attention to the social and regulatory skills. It requires new ways to measure the classroom quality, the teacher effectiveness and also the student progress. Early childhood curriculum must be based on research or empirical knowledge as well as on theory also. In the past 3 decades, there has been a dramatic increase in the number of research studies seeking answers to questions about what educational experiences best support the young children's learning and development. Much of the developmental research has supported the idea that the preschool years are significant in the child's learning and future development. The teacher should be familiar with several areas of development and educational research in an effort to improve their program. So, the development includes research on children's cognitive, social, emotional, physical and creative development. The teacher characteristics, the teacher behavior, the teaching methods, the strategies which are used in the classroom, the organizational features of the classroom, management and discipline strategies used by the teacher, the children's motivation, the family and peer influence on children. All this has to be taken into consideration while planning for the curriculum. So, after knowing the importance and the meaning of curriculum, let us now move on to see what are the theories of development and learning. Curriculum, program and planning are influenced by the social, economic and political forces. The increasing interest in corporate support for the child care reflects in the economic concerns about the productivity of the workforce as well as the need for more high quality early childhood education programs. More direct influence on the curriculum than these social, economic and political forces include the developmental and learning theories and also research. The developmental theories or beliefs lay foundation for the curriculum and guide our views of teaching and supporting the children as learners. The developmental theory from which a curriculum originates may be explicit or implicit. The curriculum should describe the linkage between the practice and theory, showing the relationship between what the teacher does and why they are doing it. The teacher should critically consider and evaluate the theoretical approaches and then take them as an organizing framework based on their own experiences. Now, let us see some of the theories that enable us to understand the development of curriculum and learning strategies of children in early childhood education. Some of the theories which are influencing are the maturational theory, psychodynamic theory, behavior theory, multiple intelligence theory and the socio-cultural theory. So, these are the theories which have influence on the curriculum development. Maturational orientation to children's development has spawned several similar theories associated with the work of Stanley Hall, Robert Havikhurst and Arnold Jessel. The maturational theorist was advanced by the work of Arnold Jessel. Maturationists believe that development is a biological process that occurs automatically in predictable sequential stages over time. This perspective leads many educators and families to assume the children will acquire knowledge naturally and automatically as they grow physically and become older, provided that they are healthy. The school readiness program. School readiness, according to the maturationist, is a state at which all the healthy young children arrive when they can perform tasks such as reciting the alphabets and counting. These tasks are required for learning more complex tasks such as reading and arithmetic, because development and school readiness occur naturally and automatically. Maturationists believe that the best practices are for parents to teach young children to recite the alphabet and counting, while being patient and waiting for the children to become ready for the kindergarten. If a child is developmentally unready for school, the maturationist might suggest referral to transitional kindergartens, retention or holding the children out of the school for an additional year. These practices are sometimes used by the schools, educators and parents when young children or developmentally lags behind his peer group. The young child's underperformance is interpreted as the child needing more time to acquire the knowledge or the skills needed to perform at the level of his or her peers. This theory believes that genetic and physiological changes contribute to the developing structure of the body. The brain development and motor capabilities, like for example, occur almost automatically without learning or instruction. The changes in abilities can either be gradual or sudden depending on the type of development being considered. Stanley Hall began a tradition of testing and observing a large number of children and then describing the average or the typical behavior for children at each age level. These descriptive age norms were used to determine the typical child behavior at various stages. Havikhurst extensively described the task in 10 behavior categories during the 5 stages of development throughout the lifespan. He believed that developmental tasks were those things a person must learn if he is to be judged or not to be judged himself to be a reasonably happy and successful person. For example, in the second stage of the early childhood, for the behavior category of developing a conscious, the preschool child tasks are first to develop the ability to take directions and to be obedient in the presence of an authority figure. The second is to develop the ability to be obedient even in the absence of the authority figure. Jessel and his colleagues at the Jessel Institute of Child Development in New Haven described the children in 10 major areas of development. They are the motor, personal hygiene, emotional expression, fears and dreams, self and interpersonal relations, play and pastime, school life, ethical sense and philosophical outlook. Each category includes several other areas. For example, take the philosophical outlook. It includes the time, space, language, thought, war, death and deity. The data from the test in these areas were used to develop the gradients of growth that describe the norm or a typical child's behavior at each level. Jessel believed that the child's genetic endowment determined the development and behavior, and that internal maturational factors guide the children's growth and development. So, this is the maturational theory. After having understood the maturational theory, let us move on to understand the second theoretical influence on curriculum development. Sigmund Freud first described the children's development and behavior from a psychodynamic perspective or psychoanalytic perspective. Freud too developed a stage-based theory of development. As children move through ages, that is oral, anal, phallic, latency and genital, their development and behavior is explained by the actions of the subconscious forces, which he refers as it, ego and superego, that compete to influence the behavior. As we all know that it consists of inborn drives present at the time of birth. The ego develops during the second stage, that is 1 to 3 years of age, and is a part of the personality that controls our emotions, thought and behavior. The superego develops during the phallic stage, that is ages from 3 to 5 years, and represents the ethical values and conscience. Throughout the life, a struggle exists between the id, which represents the internal drives, and the superego, the moral center. The ego mediates the struggle between the pleasure and morality to create a behavior that is realistic as well as acceptable. Erikson, he is a German, a born psychoanalyst, refined the Freud's theory of personality development and focused particularly on the child's development. Erikson said that the young children younger than 6 years, the tasks at each of the first 3 stages are labeled as trust versus mistrust, that is age group from birth to 1 year, autonomy versus shame and doubt for the age group from 2 to 3 years, and initiative versus guilt for the age group from 3 to 6 years. The successful resolution of each task during the specified stage results in the ability to perceive the world and the self correctly and develop a healthy personality, which is active mastery of the environment and appropriate socialization into culture. The psychodynamic perspective extends upon this theory through the notion that the child's mind, body, physical, social and emotional worlds form an integrated system that guides the child's growth and development. The children's learning is viewed as a holistic process where the skills and competences develop as a result of interactions with broadly ranging activities experienced in the real life context. A special feature of this perspective is the emphasis that is placed upon the individual's unique life history, the skills and learning dispositions, and the recognition that an individual's biological makeup and experience lead to a wide individual differences in the development of specific skills. This perspective is aligned with the child-centered and humanist approach that acknowledges the effective and subjective nature of learning and the importance of assisting the children to develop individual identity and self-esteem. If you are going to incorporate a psychodynamic perspective in the work with young children, we have to consider the acknowledgement of individual differences and support the individual growing sense of self. Consciously and actively draw out the children's thoughts and feelings to assist them to understand the implications of their actions. The program should be designed which are developmentally appropriate and cater to the child's emotional well-being and developing the personality. This is about the psychodynamic theory. Behavioral theory focuses on the objectives, the principles, the influencing the human behavior. John Watson, he founded the movement called the behaviorism. There are two major frameworks that apply behaviorism to the child development and are operant conditioning and classical conditioning. Pavlov's stimulus and unconditioned stimulus response are used to elicit a conditioned response to unconditioned stimulus, failed to account for behavior that is emitted but not elicited from any observable stimulus. Learning here is viewed as a process whereby a child is conditioned to display the expected behavior and knowledge through the use of consequences or reinforcement and punishment. Skinner described an ideal child rearing environment and asserted that both human and physical factors in the environment should be engineered to produce certain predictable results. Albert Bandura, he modified the Watson's and Skinner's stimulus response approach into a second behaviorist approach. The social learning theory includes an attempt to describe the cognition of the individual or what the child is thinking or what he is acting. The social learning theory also recognizes the roles that observation, imitation, modeling, incidental learning play a key role in the child's behavior and learning. Regardless of the child's age or the stage of development, there are several processes that describe the development and learning. Learning occurs as children construct knowledge through active exploration and discovery in their physical and social environment. Behaviorism is a philosophy of learning that only focuses on objectively observable behavior and discounts the mental activities. Behavior theorists define learning as nothing more than acquisition of new knowledge or new behavior. Let us see how behavior is impacting the learning. The positive and negative reinforcement technique of behaviorism can be very effective. The teachers use behaviorism when they reward or punish the students' behavior. This is about the behavior theory influencing the young child's curriculum development. Let us now move on to see the important theory influencing the curriculum for young children. Piaget's theory of cognitive development focuses two reciprocal processes which are called as assimilation and accommodation. Accommodation permits the adaptation to the environment. Children assimilate when they match the concepts, skills, information gained from their experiences with the environment to their personally or previously developed sense of patterns or scheme of understanding. Accommodation occurs when the mental schemes must be changed to fit the new concepts or the skills or information. In the beginning, information is assimilated to fit the pre-existing mental structure. Later on, the mental structures accommodate or change to fit the new knowledge. In cognitive development framework, the child actively seeks and processes the information and then he constructs the knowledge. Piaget proposed that during all the developmental stages, the child's experience with their environment using whatever mental maps they have constructed. If the experiences is a repeated one, it fits in easily or it is assimilated easily into the child's cognitive structure so that they maintain a mental equilibrium. If the experiences are different or new, the child loses the equilibrium. He alters his cognitive structure to accommodate the new conditions. In this way, the child constructs increasingly complex cognitive structures. Now, let us see how the Piaget's theory is impacting learning in young children. The curriculum educators must plan a developmentally appropriate curriculum that enhances their students or the child's logical as well as conceptual growth. Instruction. The teacher must emphasize that the critical role that experiences or interactions with the surrounding environment play in the student learning. The brain-based learning theory. This theory is based on the structure and function of the brain. As long as the brain is prohibited from fulfilling the normal process, learning will occur. Every person is born with a brain that functions as an information processor. Traditional schooling, however, it inhibits the learning by discouraging, ignoring or punishing the brain's natural learning process. The core principles of brain learning theory is that the brain is a parallel processor, meaning it can perform several activities at once. Learning engages with the whole philosophy, and the search for meaning is innate. The search for meaning comes through a patterning, and learning involves both conscious and unconscious processes. And also the theory explains that learning is enhanced by the challenge and is inhibited by the threat. The three instructional techniques associated with the brain learning are the creating learning environments that fully immerse students in an educational experience, which is challenging as well as rewarding. And then the curriculum. The teachers must design the learning material or learning around the students' interest and make learning a contextual. Instruction. Educators let the students learn in teams and use peripheral learning. Assessment. Since all the students are learning, the assessment should allow them to understand their own learning styles. After this comes the multiple intelligence theory. Although most cognitive theorists and educators have emphasized the linguistic and logical mathematical intelligence, but Howard Gardner believes that there are other types of intelligence like the musical thought, bodily, kinesthetic, spatial, interpersonal and intrapersonal. The children learn about the world through language, logical mathematical thought, spatial presentations, musical thought, using the body to solve the problems or to create things, and understanding others and understanding self. The children differ in the strength of these intelligences and in the ways in which such intelligences are invoked or combined to carry out different tasks. This is about the multiple intelligence theory. Emphasizing the influence on the society and culture on the child's development, the role of language in developing a high order thinking skills and importance of play in enhancing the children's socially cooperative behavior. The social learning theory influences the child's development. The concept of zone of proximal development. The distance between the actual development level as determined by the independent problem solving and the level of potential development as determined through a problem solving under adults' guidance or in collaboration with more capable peers is used by the early childhood educators to individualize the play experiences. This theory also says that play creates a zone of proximal development in the child. In play, the child always behaves beyond his average age and above his daily behavior. Play contains all developmental tendencies in a condensed form and itself is a major source of development. Vygotsky viewed the impact of imaginative play as being a complex. Play enhances the cognitive development, especially strengthening the memory and the reasoning abilities. It increases the social competence and it enriches the language development. Vygotsky analysis offer a convincing argument for a change, a powerful account of why make believe is ultimate activity for nurturing capacities that are crucial for academic as well as later life successes. Now, we will see quickly the guiding principles of learning or social learning theory. The observer will initiate or imitate the model's behavior if the model possesses the characteristics or the things such as talent, intelligence, power, good looks or popularity. The observer will react to the way that the model is treated or mimic the model's behavior. A distinction exists between an observer's acquiring a behavior and performing a behavior. Though the observer can acquire the behavior without performing it, the observer may then later in situations where there is incentive to do so will definitely display this behavior. Learning by observation involves 4 separate processes. They are attention. Observer cannot learn unless they pay attention to what is happening around them. Retention. Observers may not be able to recognize the observed behavior, but also remember it at some time later. Production. The observer must physically and intellectually capable of producing the act. And then motivation. In general, the observer will perform the act only if they have some kind of motivation or a reason to do so. These are the points in observation through learning. So, today in the topic curriculum for young children, we have seen the influence of developmental theories on curriculum development of early childhood education. In this, we try to understand the importance of curriculum in young children's growth and development. We have tried to understand the theories like the maturational theory, the Piaget's theory of cognitive development, psychodynamic theory of Freud, psychoanalytic theory of Erikson influencing the curriculum of young children. So, we also try to understand the socio-cultural learning theory, how the young child observes and imitates and learns from his environment. Hope you have understood the lesson. Thank you.